Have you ever wondered what happens when the very person who built a retail empire steps into his own store incognito to discover a reality he never expected? Today, we dive into a raw and riveting experience that challenges everything about customer care and company values, revealing hidden truths that will leave you questioning the everyday encounters you take for granted. Marcus Rivers adjusted the brim of his baseball cap in the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of a man he scarcely recognized. Not the sharply dressed CEO who had built a multi-million-dollar retail empire, but just another face in the bustling crowd. Clad in a simple hoodie and jeans, he now blended in with everyday customers, a deliberate disguise meant to reveal the unvarnished truth of his business. On this brisk Saturday morning, just after 10 a.m., Marcus wasn't thinking about board meetings or profit margins. Instead, he was driven by a deep need to connect with his company's heart, the very customers who had made his vision a reality. Marcus had always believed that every customer mattered, regardless of their background. His empire was founded on the promise of inclusion and genuine care. Yet recently, whispers had started circulating, complaints of indifferent service, murmurs of bias, and unsettling rumors that some customers were being treated with less care than they deserved. Determined to uncover the truth for himself, Marcus decided to experience his own store as any other customer would, leaving his title and his well-known persona behind. He wanted to see the world through the eyes of a stranger and evaluate whether the warmth and inclusivity he envisioned had remained intact over the years. Driving into the busy suburban plaza on the outskirts of Dallas, Texas, Marcus parked his car, his pulse quickening with anticipation. Although this location wasn't the flagship store or the top performer in his chain, it held a special significance. It was the very first store he had ever opened outside his home state. Back then, every visit had been filled with hope and excitement. Today, as he stepped out of his car and into the bustling parking lot, he felt a mix of anticipation and unease. With the morning sun casting a shimmering glow on the vehicles and the sound of chatter filling the air, Marcus took a deep breath, preparing himself to step into a world that might reveal more than he had ever imagined. As he approached the store's gleaming facade, the bold and familiar logo stirred a deep sense of pride within him. This was his creation, a vision that had transformed into reality. Yet, as he passed through the automatic doors into the cool blast of air conditioning, Marcus reminded himself that he was no longer the powerful CEO Marcus Rivers today. He was simply a regular customer, a man with a name that no one needed to recognize. Inside, the store was alive with activity. Shoppers maneuvered through aisles laden with goods, their voices rising in excitement near the children's section. Employees moved with an air of purpose, some restocking shelves, others assisting customers, all seemingly contributing to the smooth functioning of the space. But Marcus knew that appearances could be deceiving. Beneath the efficient surface, he was determined to uncover whether the foundational values of respect and inclusivity had been compromised. Wandering through the store, Marcus's eyes scanned every detail. He paused by a display of brightly colored kitchen appliances, absorbing his surroundings as if trying to read between the lines of a carefully written script. A young woman, dressed in a striped uniform jacket, engaged a customer with animated enthusiasm about product features. Nearby, another associate methodically rearranged items on a shelf, his movements efficient yet marked by a sense of detachment. At the far end of the store, leaning casually against the counter in the electronics section, stood a young man idly scrolling on his phone, a picture of indifference. Something about that scene piqued Marcus's curiosity, and he decided to move closer. As he ambled toward the electronics counter, Marcus picked up a pair of headphones from a nearby display, turning them over in his hands as though contemplating a potential purchase. This simple act was a silent inquiry into whether he would be acknowledged and assisted, or ignored altogether. At first, the employee, a young man with an expression that seemed perpetually detached, barely lifted his gaze from his phone. No smile, no greeting, not even a hint of acknowledgement. Marcus waited patiently, giving the man every opportunity to engage, but nothing came. A knot of unease formed in his stomach. Was it simply busyness, or was there something more insidious at play? Not wanting to jump to conclusions, Marcus continued to meander through the aisles, his eyes carefully observing the interactions unfolding around him. In one part of the store, he noticed an older woman, seemingly in search of help near the home goods section. Her frustration was visible as she scanned the area for assistance. Before Marcus could intervene, a second employee approached her with warmth and genuine care, a stark contrast to the dismissive behavior he had just encountered. Relief washed over the older woman as she began chatting with the employee, her frown softening into a smile. Yet, as Marcus turned back toward the electronics counter, he resolved to give the indifferent young man another chance. Returning to the counter with a boxed set of Bluetooth speakers in hand, Marcus placed the box gently on the counter. This deliberate action was meant to catch the employee's attention, a silent cue expecting a natural reaction, a greeting, a smile, a willingness to help. At last, the young man glanced up, his expression blank and disinterested. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone suggesting that he regarded the request as an inconvenience rather than an opportunity to serve. Marcus, maintaining his composure and wearing a hopeful smile, replied, "Yes, I was wondering if you could tell me a bit more about these speakers. Are they suitable for outdoor use?" The employee's response was curt and dismissive. He gave the box a half-hearted glance before shrugging and muttering, "I don't know, probably." His attention quickly returned to his phone as if the question was nothing more than an interruption. Taken aback by this lack of enthusiasm, Marcus pressed further, "Could you please check for me? I want to be absolutely sure before I decide to buy them." With a heavy sigh, as if Marcus's request was an undue burden, the employee flipped the box over to read the details. After a brief moment of reading, he mumbled, "They're weatherproof," handing the box back without any further explanation. The dismissiveness in his tone was unmistakable, and a wave of frustration surged within Marcus. Yet, he maintained his calm, determined not to let the encounter define his overall impression just yet. Marcus then inquired about compatibility with most devices, to which the employee rolled his eyes and retorted, "Look, all the details are right there on the box. Just read it yourself." He gestured vaguely toward the shelf, suggesting indifference. The heavy silence that followed was punctuated only by the distant hum of the store, a stark reminder that this was not an isolated incident of inattentiveness. Marcus scanned the store further, noting that other customers were being treated with warmth and genuine enthusiasm. In one instance, a white couple near the front of the store was receiving personalized assistance from another employee, the very same young man who had helped the older woman earlier. Yet, here, Marcus felt ignored and undervalued. Determined to test the boundaries of this apparent bias, Marcus tried to shift the dynamic by remarking, "You seem busy, might there be someone else who can help me?" The employee's smirk deepened into a look of disdain as he replied, "I don't think anyone's free right now. Just figure it out yourself." His words stung, more than Marcus had anticipated. It wasn't anger that bubbled within him at that moment, it was a deep sense of disappointment. This wasn't merely about one employee's poor attitude, it was an indication of a larger, more disturbing cultural flaw. If an ordinary customer like Marcus could be dismissed so easily, how many others had been made to feel unimportant without even a second thought? Before Marcus could voice further concerns, the young man abruptly turned away, grabbing his phone and disappearing toward the back of the store. Standing there at the counter with the box of speakers still in his hand, Marcus felt an overwhelming sense of disillusionment. For a fleeting moment, he considered walking out, but his resolve was stronger than that impulse. He needed to see the bigger picture, to determine whether this dismissive behavior was an anomaly or part of a deeply entrenched problem. Setting the speakers back on the shelf, Marcus's mind raced as he processed the day's events. The encounter with the electronics employee was not merely unprofessional, it felt deeply personal, a slight against the values he had so painstakingly built his company upon. As he continued to roam the store, he observed how different employees interacted with customers. In the clothing section, he encountered a young Latina employee named Marisol, who was busy folding shirts at a display. Her warm greeting and genuine smile made a notable difference. "Let me know if you need help with anything," she said cheerfully, exuding a sincere desire to assist. As Marcus watched her later help an elderly man find the right size and even suggest a matching accessory, her patience and attentiveness restored a flicker of hope in him. It was clear that not every corner of the store was tainted by indifference. However, as Marcus moved toward the home goods section, a conversation caught his attention that chilled him to the bone. Two young employees, casually leaning against a shelf, were engaged in a hushed but unmistakably disrespectful discussion. "That guy over there," one of them sneered, nodding subtly in Marcus's direction, "is probably just here to browse. People like him never buy anything big." The other employee chuckled in agreement, adding, "Yeah, he doesn't look like he has got the cash for this stuff. Just wasting time." The casual cruelty in their voices struck Marcus hard. They made assumptions based solely on his appearance, a reminder that beneath the surface of his beloved store lay an undercurrent of prejudice that could not be ignored. Here, he was seen not as a customer with a genuine need, but as a stereotype, a black man unworthy of proper attention. Fighting back the rising tide of frustration, Marcus continued his exploration of the store, his senses heightened by the stark contrasts in customer service. As he moved toward the checkout area, he observed a middle-aged African-American woman at the register, a beacon of professionalism and kindness amid the chaos. Her name tag read Tasha, and her demeanor exuded warmth as she greeted each customer with a smile. When Marcus finally reached the checkout, Tasha's friendly inquiry, "Did you find everything okay?" was met with his measured response, "Not exactly." The momentarily faltering smile on Tasha's face was a silent testament to the discrepancy between the store's promise and its reality. Even in that brief exchange, Marcus could sense that the issues ran deeper than the behavior of one or two employees. They were symptomatic of a larger cultural disconnect. After leaving the store for a brief pause, Marcus returned to his car, the afternoon heat pressing against the windows as he sat in silence, replaying every interaction. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. This store, his pride and joy, was meant to be a symbol of opportunity, fairness, and respect. Yet the experiences he had encountered painted a picture of neglect and bias that cut deep into the core of his business ethos. The dismissive attitude of the electronics employee and the casual, demeaning comments overheard in the home goods section were not isolated incidents. They hinted at a pervasive problem, a culture that had slowly, almost imperceptibly, allowed discrimination and indifference to seep in. In that reflective solitude, Marcus remembered the early days of building his company. Back then, every manager had been personally trained by him, and every employee was hand-picked for their shared values. The guiding principle was always clear: every customer is like family, deserving of the utmost respect regardless of who they are or how much they spend. However, as the company expanded, the personal touch had waned, and delegation became necessary. Marcus now questioned whether the very essence of his vision had been diluted in the process. Had the drive for growth overshadowed the commitment to excellence in customer service? Were the values that once defined his brand slipping away unnoticed? Resolute and determined, Marcus decided that his day as an undercover customer was far from over. He needed to gather concrete insights before taking any further steps. He revisited the clothing section, where Marisol continued her work with care and enthusiasm. Observing her interaction with an elderly customer who expressed gratitude for her help, Marcus felt a renewed sense of hope. Yet, even as moments of kindness shone through, they were marred by the stark disparities in service quality elsewhere in the store. Unable to ignore the glaring inconsistencies any longer, Marcus resolved to confront the issues head-on. With the determination of a man who had built his company from the ground up, he made his way toward the customer service desk, where he requested to speak with the store manager. Within moments, a man in his late 40s whose name tag read Carlton approached with a professional yet slightly wary demeanor. When Marcus extended his hand and introduced himself as Marcus Rivers, the look of recognition in Carlton's eyes was almost instantaneous. For a fleeting moment, the manager's composure faltered, but he quickly recovered, greeting Marcus warmly and apologetically, "Mr. Rivers, it's an honor to have you here. If only I had known you were visiting today." Marcus interrupted gently but firmly, "That's exactly the point, Carlton. I didn't come here as the CEO, I came here as a regular customer to see how things are really running. And what I witnessed today is not acceptable." With that, Marcus recounted every detail: the indifferent attitude of the electronics employee, the casual, snide remarks overheard in the home goods section, and the glaring inconsistency in how customers were treated. His tone was calm yet firm, his disappointment palpable. "This isn't just about one bad encounter," he said. "It's about a culture that's allowed such behavior to persist. I built this company on the principle that every single customer deserves respect. Today, I witnessed the exact opposite." Carlton's face reddened slightly as he listened, clearly unsettled by the revelations. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Rivers," he replied, his voice tinged with regret. "I wasn't aware of these issues. I have always believed that our team embodies the values you set out for us." Marcus nodded slowly, acknowledging Carlton's words while emphasizing that acknowledgement alone wasn't enough. "I understand, Carlton, but clearly something is slipping through the cracks. It's not solely your responsibility, it's on me as well. Somewhere along the way, our commitment to these values has been compromised." Determined to address the problem immediately, Marcus instructed Carlton to gather all the store staff for an impromptu meeting in the break room. Within minutes, the employees assembled, their faces reflecting a mix of curiosity, apprehension, and uncertainty. Standing before them, Marcus was no longer just a faceless customer, he was the visionary who had built this brand from the ground up, a leader who now had to confront a harsh truth. "Good afternoon, everyone," he began in a clear, direct tone. "For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcus Rivers, and I am the founder and CEO of this company. Today, I came here undercover to see how our stores really operate on the ground." A heavy silence fell over the room as Marcus's words sank in. He paused, making eye contact with each person, ensuring that his message resonated deeply. "What I witnessed today is troubling," he continued. "Some of you demonstrated the kindness and professionalism that this company was built on. But others fell short, showing behavior that I cannot, in good conscience, accept. The indifference you displayed was not just a lapse in service, it was a personal slight against the values we hold dear." At that moment, Marcus's gaze fell on the young electronics employee, whose face had turned pale and nervous. "You dismissed me, ignored me, and made it clear that I wasn't worth your time," Marcus said slowly, the weight of his disappointment evident in every word. That is unacceptable. And what is even more disturbing is that I overheard comments implying assumptions about who I am and what I can afford, based solely on my appearance. This is not just a mistake, it's a failure of our system, a failure of the culture we promised to uphold. The room grew even quieter as the employees absorbed his words. Yet, even as tension filled the space, Marcus continued with a sense of calm determination. I'm not here to embarrass anyone. I'm here to fix this. Because if we do not treat every customer with respect, we fail not just as individuals, but as a company. I won't allow our brand to falter. Today marks the beginning of a renewed commitment to our values. Turning to Carlton, Marcus outlined his plan with unwavering resolve. First, we will implement mandatory training on bias and customer service across every store in our chain. It is not enough to assume that people know how to treat one another, we must actively teach, reinforce, and hold each other accountable. Second, I will be visiting more stores in person, unannounced. This isn't about catching anyone off guard, it's about staying connected to the reality of our customer interactions. And lastly, I want to hear from all of you. Tell me what's working, and more importantly, what isn't. My door is always open, and if you prefer, you will have a way to voice your concerns anonymously. As he spoke, Marcus could see a mixture of nervousness and understanding spread across the room. Some faces, like that of Tasha the cashier, softened in agreement, others, especially those who had been dismissive earlier, shifted uncomfortably. I started this company because I wanted to create something different, a place where every single person, no matter who they are, felt valued. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that promise. But I refuse to let that define us. I know we can do better, and I'm counting on every one of you to help make that change happen. After the meeting, as the employees dispersed with a mix of relief and reflection, Marcus took a quiet moment to speak privately with Tasha. Thank you for being a bright spot today, he said sincerely. Your attitude reminds me exactly why I started this business. Tasha's gentle smile and soft-spoken response, I just try to treat people the way I'd want to be treated, reinforced the hope that all was not lost, even if the day's revelations had been hard to swallow. Stepping back out into the afternoon sun, Marcus felt an amalgamation of exhaustion and renewed purpose. The day's events had been a wake-up call, a reminder that growth and success come with the responsibility of maintaining the core values upon which the company was built. Though the encounter with the dismissive employee and the overheard snide remarks had been painful, they had also ignited a passion within him to ensure that every customer, every interaction, and every detail reflected the commitment to respect, fairness, and genuine care. Marcus climbed back into his car, his mind already whirring with plans for comprehensive changes. As he drove away from the store, the image of his company's logo lingering in his thoughts, he knew that facing these hard truths was the only way forward. His journey that day wasn't merely about correcting a single misstep, it was about redefining an entire culture and reaffirming a commitment to excellence that had once been the bedrock of his vision. Over the next few days, Marcus dedicated himself to a thorough review of every facet of the company's operations. He spoke with regional managers, revisited training programs, and initiated discussions on how to rebuild trust and unity within his workforce. It wasn't an easy path to follow, but he was driven by a steadfast belief that change was not only possible but imperative. Every step he took was fueled by the desire to return to the roots of his success, a success defined not by profit margins, but by the heartfelt interactions that made his customers feel truly valued. Marcus began a series of unannounced visits to different stores across the region, each time donning his everyday attire to blend seamlessly into the crowd. During these visits, he meticulously observed employee-customer interactions, noting the subtle differences in approach, tone, and body language. In some locations, he found that the personal touch was intact, a genuine smile here, a heartfelt greeting there. In others, he encountered the same chilly indifference that had plagued that Dallas suburb store. These discrepancies painted a stark picture of a company at a crossroads, a company that had experienced rapid growth, but now risked losing the personal touch that had once been its greatest asset. In one memorable visit, Marcus found himself in a store where an employee, let us call her Jasmine, was attentively helping a family choose the perfect set of cookware. Her interactions were filled with warmth and genuine care, a testament to the training and values that still thrived within certain corners of the organization. Later, in another store, he observed an incident that echoed the earlier neglect. A young man, seemingly preoccupied with his phone, ignored a customer's request for help, his dismissive tone leaving the customer visibly frustrated. It was clear to Marcus that while some employees embraced the company's founding principles, others had allowed complacency and bias to erode their commitment to service. Each observation, every interaction, added layers to Marcus's understanding of the cultural challenges his company faced. He took detailed notes and scheduled follow-up meetings with district managers, determined to implement a series of changes that would reinvigorate the sense of family and community that had once defined his brand. Training sessions on customer service were overhauled, bias awareness workshops became a regular feature, and feedback channels were redesigned to ensure that every employee had a voice and that their concerns would be addressed promptly and with empathy. Back at headquarters, Marcus assembled a task force dedicated to reshaping the company culture. Over long hours of discussion and planning, the team outlined a comprehensive strategy that emphasized accountability, continuous learning, and the reintegration of personal interactions into every facet of the business. They agreed that technology and efficiency should never come at the expense of human connection. For Marcus, this was not just about improving customer service, it was about reclaiming the soul of his company and ensuring that every store, regardless of location or performance metrics, reflected the values that had once set his business apart. The journey was not without its challenges. Some employees resisted the changes, clinging to old habits and routines that had long been ingrained in the company's daily operations. Others welcomed the renewed focus on fairness and respect, eager to rediscover the pride that had initially drawn them to the brand. Throughout it all, Marcus maintained an unwavering resolve. He knew that the road to meaningful change was paved with honest self-reflection and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. But he was convinced that every challenge presented an opportunity, a chance to rebuild, to re-energize, and to ultimately create a work environment where every individual felt seen, heard, and valued. As weeks turned into months, the impact of Marcus's efforts began to manifest. Regular feedback from customers revealed improvements in service, and internal surveys indicated a growing sense of unity among staff. Training programs evolved into dynamic sessions where employees were encouraged to share their experiences, challenges, and ideas for improvement. Marcus made it a point to periodically visit stores, sometimes incognito and other times in full leadership mode, ensuring that the pulse of the company remained strong and connected to its founding principles. One crisp morning, during one of his visits, Marcus found himself in a store where the transformation was unmistakable. The energy was different, more vibrant, more welcoming. He watched as an employee named Andre greeted customers with genuine enthusiasm, taking the time to explain product features and even share personal anecdotes that resonated with shoppers. In another corner, a veteran staff member patiently helped a customer select the perfect gift, her caring approach turning a routine transaction into a meaningful interaction. These moments, though small in isolation, collectively painted a picture of a company slowly rediscovering its soul. Even as Marcus's visits became more frequent, he never lost sight of the lessons learned during that fateful undercover day. The experience had revealed the gaps in his company's culture, but it had also ignited a passion for change that would guide every subsequent decision. Marcus continued to advocate for policies that prioritized human connection, fairness, and respect not just in customer interactions, but within the company as a whole. His efforts served as a constant reminder that true leadership is not about the accolades or the bottom line. It is about ensuring that every individual, whether a customer or an employee, feels valued and respected. The ripple effect of these changes extended far beyond the walls of any single store. News of Marcus's personal commitment to overhauling the company culture began to spread among industry peers and customers alike. Social media buzzed with stories of the inspiring turnaround, and soon, customers started sharing their own positive experiences, crediting the company's renewed focus on genuine care for the significant improvements in their shopping experience. Employees, too, found themselves re-energized, taking pride in being part of an organization that actively sought to correct its shortcomings and uphold its founding principles. As Marcus's story unfolded, it served as a powerful reminder that even the most successful ventures can face unexpected challenges and that it is through confronting these challenges head-on that true progress is made. The journey was far from over, and Marcus knew that there would always be hurdles to overcome. Yet, with every step, he reaffirmed his commitment to building a company that wasn't just about financial success, but about making a lasting, positive impact on everyone who walked through its doors. Today, as I share this story with you, I invite you to reflect on your own experiences. How often do we take for granted the value of genuine connection? In a world that increasingly relies on speed and efficiency, it's the small acts of kindness and respect that truly define our daily lives. Marcus's experience challenges us all to consider the quality of our interactions, whether as customers or as part of a larger community. It's a call to action, a reminder that every one of us has the power to make a difference, one encounter at a time. Before we close, let me leave you with this thought: how will you shape the culture around you, ensuring that every person you encounter feels truly valued? Are you ready to explore what happens when we take these lessons beyond the store and apply them to our everyday lives, and how that change might just transform the world around us?